Hello Subet, you're welcome back to my channel. So in this video we'll be learning how to make this three-step skirt. Okay, now it's actually a dress I'm wearing, but this video is only about the lower part. So I'm quickly going to share with us how I made it, how I got the right measurement for the skirt part. If you're interested in knowing how I made the upper part, the video is on my channel and it is the last video I uploaded before this one. So to get started, I have my Ankara fabric. I've already cut it into pieces. Okay, so I have a total of 6 yards that I use in making the upper part and the lower part of the skirt of this dress. Okay, so to get started now, the first thing you have to do is to do your calculations what you want. Okay, now you know it is a 3-layer dress. What that means is that I'm going to divide the full length of the skirt into 3 from my waistline to the knee where the skirt is ending, right, is 24 inches for the full length. So what that means is that I'm going to divide this 24 inches into 3 because it's 3 layers. If you divide 24 by 3, it's going to give you 8 inches, right? Which means that each step will be longer than the other with 8 inches, okay? So with that being said, the first layer, which is the longest part of the skirt, the longest layer of the skirt is going to be half flare. I'm not going to cut it as full flare because if I fold the Ankara fabric into full flare, it's not going to give me the full length that I want for the first layer. Okay, so we are using half flare, which is half circle, and that's the 180-degree flare. Okay, so now the formula to getting that is that you divide your waist to get the radius for the half flare. Divide your waist by 3.14. So if I divide 33 by 3.14, it will give me 10.5. So this one is the half circle flare that we've gotten. So the radius for the first layer, which is the half flare, is 10.5. Okay, now note that you must have added your 1-inch zip allowance to your waist measurement before you are getting the radius. Okay, so for the remaining 2 layers, it is going to be full flare. And to get your radius for a full flare, divide your waist measurement by 6.28. So if I divide 33 by 6.28, I will get 5.25. Okay, take note of that. So now the longest flare from the waist is going to be cut as a half flare. Then the remaining 2 flares will come as full flare, 360-degree flare. Okay, and the formula for the half flare is 3.14. The formula for the full flare is 6.28 to get the radius. So now you should know that the first layer is 24 inches long. Okay, the second layer will be 16 inches long and the third layer will be 8 inches long. Remember I said that each layer will be longer than the other by 8 inches. So we have 24, we have 16, and we have 8. And I hope you're not confused at this point. So after getting the right calculation done, I'm going to go ahead to spread my fabric into 2. I'm just going to fold it into 2, and I will just fold it long enough to make sure that it will carry my measurement. So right here now, we are going to be working on the first layer. Okay, we are going to be working on the first layer. So now for the 180-degree flare, that's the one we're cutting now. The 180-degree flare radius is 10.5, which is going to be the longest flare, 10.5. Okay, and the other radius for the 360-degree flare radius, the remaining 2, we are doing 360-degree, we are cutting 360-degree flare. It is 5.25. So for the 180-degree flare, it is 10.05. For the 360-degree flare, it is 5.25. Okay, so now we are going to be cutting the 10.5 radius because we are cutting the biggest part of the flare first. Okay, so you make sure you cut the biggest part of the flare first. So I'm just refolding the fabric for us so that it is enough for me to put my radius and still put the full measurement of the skirt. So now we're working with the 10.5, which is the 180-degree flare. So what you do, mark the 10.5 round from the tip of the fabric. Mark the 10.5 round. So I'll just go ahead and mark it all round and connect it. So after connecting the 10.5, go ahead and measure your 24 inches. So from that 10.5 now, that's where your 24 inches for the full length of the dress will start from, okay? So when you mark your 24 inches, go ahead to the edge of the fabric again and just measure it straight from the edge of the fabric to the 24 inches. Now you know that 24 inches plus 10.5 will give you 34.5 inches. So I'm going to measure the 34.5 inches. I'm going to measure it round and connect it also. So I'm just going to do that quickly so that we can go to the next phase. So you can see what I'm doing, right? So after measuring it all around, the next thing you're going to do now is to go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting it out, we are going to move to cutting the next flare. So after cutting it, the next thing you have to do, spread it, then cross check your measurement, okay? Just measure it round, and by the time you measure it round and you follow all the calculations we've done, you realize that it is accurate, okay? So after measuring the waist round like this, and we'll now go ahead to fold my fabric and cut the second flare. Don't forget that this first flare we've cut is 24 inches long, which means that the second one we want to cut now is going to be 15 inches long. Now this one is a 360-degree flare, which means that the fabric is folded into 4, okay? So like I'm saying, like I'm telling us here, it's folded into 4, and the full length of this one is 16 inches. Then the radius is 2.5, okay? So now the radius is 5.25, okay? So I will go ahead and mark 5.25, okay? So what we mean by the radius now is the waist measurement, okay? So the radius is 5.25. I'm going to mark 5.25 round. So after marking it round, from the 5.25 I've marked now, I will go ahead and mark 16 inches. But at this point, my fabric was not up to 16 inches. It was about 15.5 here. But I decided to use it like that because I don't have another bigger fabric to use. So you go ahead and just measure it fully. After marking your 16 inches, okay, go ahead and measure from the edge of the fabric again. Can you see what I'm doing? So you go ahead and measure from the edge of the fabric again and measure it round. So I'm just going to connect it all round. So you're adding the 5.25 plus 16 inches to measure round. So after measuring it round, you connect all the lines, then you go ahead and cut. So after cutting like this, you are going to slit a part of it open. Remember that it's 360-degree flare, which means that no part of it is open. So you will slit it open. So after slitting it open, we are going ahead to cut the third layer, which is the shortest layer, okay? And the fabric is also folded into 4 because it's 360-degree flare we are using. So which means that this layer is 8 inches long for the flare, and the radius is 5.25 also. Remember, we only use the half flare pattern for the biggest part of the skirt. So I'm going to mark the 5.25 radius all round. Then after marking it round, I will go ahead and mark it 8 inches downwards. From the 5.25, I will mark 8 inches downwards. Then I will connect it all through. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. Now you'll be asking, why did I add hemming allowance? I didn't add to it because at the end of the day, I'm going to weave the lower part like with industrial weaving machine. So I don't want to fold it because I feel weaving it will be finer, okay? So that's why I didn't add extra allowance. But if you're going to fold your own, right, you can add extra allowance. So now that I've gone ahead to cut the 3-layer flare now, I'm going to place them on each other. So you can see me spreading the biggest part of the flare, the first layer of the flare. I'm going to spread the second layer on it and also spread the third layer on it. Then I will go straight to my sewing machine and press it down. Okay, I'm going to join them together. So you can see that it is already giving us the design we are working on. So at this point, let's assume you're not attaching it to a dress and you're making a skirt. You will go ahead and join it the same way. Put them together like this, go straight to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch, attaching them together. So after joining them together, okay, the next thing you are going to do now, you are going to join the center back. So I'm going to the machine to run it now, then come back. So I've gone ahead to run it all through. So now I'm going to flip it to the wrong side. Okay, remember that it's not carrying lining because it's 3 layers already, and the first layer is long all the way down, and you have 2 extra covering it, so you don't need lining. Okay, so now this is the center back. Go ahead and arrange them layer by layer on top each other. Make sure that you arrange them properly so that the seam lines are equal by the time you join it. So after arranging it this way, you go ahead and join. Make sure you are joining from the shortest layer. If you omit it, it's going to be flying around. So you are joining the 3 layers from the back. You just leave like 7 inches downwards and join it, run a straight stitch. So at this point, if you're making skirts, the next thing you have to do is just to go ahead and attach your band to it, then attach your zipper, and you're done if you're making a skirt. But I'm making a dress. You can see the center back after joining it, and you can see that all the layers, they are aligning also. So the next thing I will do now, I've already made the upper part of the dress. Okay, so I'm going to attach it to it. If you are interested in seeing how I made this pretty bustier you're seeing here, I will drop the link in the description box so that you can go and see a detailed and very explanatory video of it. So by the time I finish joining it, I'll go ahead and attach the zipper to it, and that brings us to the end of the video. Very simple to make, and this is it on my body. If you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.